Expert failure and the Trump boom. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, just about 1 month ago, Trump promised us a new path to a golden age.
This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, American history. It's our declaration of economic independence. My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again.
Now, reciprocal tariffs were calculated to take into account all the trade tricks other countries use to rip us off and keep our products out. But the experts predicted utter doom.
It's likely we're headed for recession because of the president's ill-advised plans.
As Ken Griffin said, a dramatic economic shock in the form of the tariffs, a huge self-inflicted wound. This self-inflicted wound, it is really hurting itself and causing potentially enormous damage to the rest of the world.
Another gruesome day on Wall Street. The reason, once again, is President Trump's global trade war.
The sky was falling, and it was all because of the tariffs. Well, here's CNBC's headline: How Trump's tariffs rollout turned into stock market mayhem. Of course, then came all the fear-mongering around the R word.
I think it's likely that we're going to be in a recession. This is not a normal recession kind of situation.
Do you personally expect a recession?
I am going to defer to my economists at this point, but I think probably that's a likely outcome.
And we were told that Trump's aggressive moves to raise tariffs globally had burned bridges everywhere, that our national brand may never recover. Now, we were even told that Trump was going to steal our Christmas joy.
And now, the war on Christmas. Trump telling the country's children there will be fewer toys to look forward to this year.
So sad. And all because Trump, we were told, had overplayed his hand. Vox declared he had lost the trade war negotiations. The BBC was sure that because of Trump's ham-fisted approach, China wasn't coming to the table. And American media outlets and Democrats crowed that Trump was backing America into a corner. And yet today, 4 weeks later, these were the headlines. Not just that. After dismissing U.S. claims that they're fueling America's fentanyl overdoses, China suddenly offered to work with us to address the crisis. But that's not all. China's feeling so much heat from the tariffs, it began exempting a list of U.S.-made products from their reciprocal tariffs in an attempt to show good faith. So they're moving toward trade negotiations and all the other developments. All of it is positive. But then you ask, well, what about the overall health of the economy? Well, today, a huge jobs report beating expectations at 177,000 jobs created. So how the doom and gloomers spin what's happened in the equity markets? Well, after weeks of naysaying, this was CNBC's headline today. Dow jumps 500 points on solid jobs report. S&P 500 heads for the longest winning streak in 20 years. Well, of course, Trump couldn't resist a boast, writing on Truth Social that the economy is strong. Just like I said, and we're only in a transition stage, just getting started. Consumers have been waiting for years to see pricing come down, no inflation. The Fed should lower its rate. They also talked about gas prices, energy prices, food prices, egg prices coming down. So when we look back on all this hysteria, if by the end of the China talks, let's say the China talks, the CCP is forced to take on a 35 to 40% tariff, and let's say the rest of the world, and it looks like it's heading this way, maybe have to deal with a 10% tariff, that will be a huge win for America. Our industrial base will benefit, and of course, it's a huge win for Donald Trump. And with every passing day, and with trade deals in the works, it looks less and less likely that we will have a recession. And all the experts will have been proven wrong once again, like Janet Yellen, the woman who helped create Biden's inflation spiral. Why should we take her advice? Now, I want you to never forget that many of these people secretly prefer the Chinese system to ours anyway. So as long as they made their billions, they never cared that China was building a massive military or expanding its influence around the globe, or that Americans lost its industrial base. Even our shipbuilding capability was eroded. It was all collateral damage to the globalist politicians and to those who just want to satisfy the free market purists. Look, there will be hurdles ahead for sure, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But for now, it looks like Trump has played this masterfully. And that's the angle.
The Raging Cajun says Democrats need to go back to school.
Are we really going to do this? Are we really going to? We just got clobbered with young people. We got clobbered by males. We got clobbered by identity politics. And you're going to wade right back into this? Jesus Christ, has anybody ever learned anything? If we're going to chase every god 25-year-old that says some thing out of the party and under the grounds of some allocated positions based on gender or ethnicity or whatever the they do, we're just doing the same thing. We never learn.
Wow.
We never learn.
Carville used to know how to win. But you can't win with Democrats who hate men. And they're starting to hate Nancy. At least she kept them disciplined. But Hakeem doesn't want anything to do with her because he doesn't like women bossing him around.
I was hearing from leadership staff that the leadership on Capitol Hill right now wants to sort of move away from that Pelosi era, that they want to they don't want to embrace anyone or anything that's like Pelosi, which I just think is the dumbest SHIT ever.
That's crazy.
Members don't want any Pelosi. She's the baddest in the business. We actually landed punches. We actually won 40 seats. I'm just surprised that they're not calling everybody that has landed some punches on Trump asking for the best advice.
If Nancy didn't have a busted hip and the coup goo sticking to her, she'd be the tip of the spear. But Hakeem's had it with her, and he'd rather do sit-ins and sing-alongs with his boy Booker. Pelosi says Hakeem has a big head.
So I'm not sure why they're not drawing on her more often. But it's probably an ego thing. I mean, I hate to say it. And part of the challenge, too, is, people want to establish themselves.
Right.
And how do you establish yourself if you have, And also, too, Pelosi, I can imagine, I've not seen her much since she stepped down. It's hard to be a boss and not be the boss.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's hard to bring somebody like her into the room and she not take over the whole strategy.
Pelosi thinks Hakeem's off message, undisciplined, and 100 days in, she's giving him and the whole party a C+. Hakeem's about to flunk out of school. But Kamala's getting her groove back.
Have you learned the boots on the ground dance yet?
I have not. You know what? I know. Will you teach me?
I will.
Okay, I'm serious. We can do it together.
You serious?
I'm very serious.
Okay, we will get this after that.
All right,
sweat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now cross. All right, there we go.
Trump's got the YMCA and Harris has whatever you call that. The White House says keep dancing.
I think I speak for everyone at the White House. We encourage Kamala Harris to continue going out and do speaking engagements.
Obama's still playing puppet master. First Clooney. Now he's sending Van Jones out to find one black voter who says, I should have listened to Barry.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump again, yes or no?
Yes, I would. Now, in the future, I am not a diehard Democrat or diehard Republican. If there were a Democratic candidate who was more aligned for me, then I would vote Democrat.
If you go back in time, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
Yes.
I think I might know the answer on this next one.
She said yes. It's immediately yes. No, I'm sorry.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
1,000% absolutely yes.
No one really thinks Kamala can run again. Even the media is admitting she's a fraud. Remember when 60 Minutes hacked up her interview? Well, they're getting nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Edited Interview Award. I'm serious. They had to carry her, and now they're giving each other awards for it. CNN's warning Democrats, stay away. she's trouble.
It's not just about regretting that vote. It's literally saying who would be doing the better job right now. And Trump continues to score a higher percentage of the vote than Kamala Harris. It's not even close. It's an 8-point advantage, which in this politics, well, that's a wide ocean.
It's huge and maybe tells the Democrats that their messaging is not working.
Democrats don't have the cards. And 100 days in, they still don't know how to deal with Trump. They're shacking up with MS-13 and Steven Spielberg's so ashamed he stopped helping them produce videos. Watch.
I'd rather have 100 bad haircuts than to deal with 100 days of Donald Trump.
I'd rather have 100 vaccination shots in my arm.
I would rather have to take 100 scammer calls than go through the last 100 days.
I would rather sit on Interstate 84 in a traffic jam for 100 hours.
I'd rather cook 100 family meals, and believe me, my kids are going to find this very funny, than 100 days of Trump.
Democrats are getting laughed at in newsrooms. And late nights trying to make this guy Pritzker a thing, cooking up nicknames that Trump should have given him.
All right, you ready? Here's the list. JB Pizza. I like this. JB Back Ribs. JB Back Ribs. Could be a song with that, too, you know? J Biggie. JB the Hut. J Pritz his pantsker. Pritz Crackers, Governor Big Shorts, and JB the Refrigerator Pritzker. Now that's a pretty good one.
No one's hungry for JB Back Ribs. Although Jazzy's a little more appetizing, not to be confused with Davy Crockett, says it feels like Trump's trying to kill her.
Same thing as it relates to the planes that are falling out of the sky.
Right.
We need some real transparency and we need some honesty and we need to make sure that the American people are just as enraged as we all should be because this administration is truly trying to kill us, it feels like.
Trump's not the one with blood on his hands. He didn't open the border and let killers in. The only person who's confident is crooked.
At the end of the day, we will defeat these people by winning elections. I mean, even if we win every court case, we still have to figure out how to get that enforced. Even if the press does lots of exposés, you're dealing with an administration that has no shame. They don't care that they are, being seen as corrupt or cruel or whatever. That is kind of the brand.
Democrats shouldn't take advice from Hillary. Bill maybe, not Hillary. House liberals they don't even want to wait until the next election. They're ready to impeach. But one House Democrat said, the guy got impeached twice. How did it work out for us? Democrats learn nothing. They're just getting dirtier. Look at what they're doing to Fetterman. Today, New York Magazine dropped a bomb, saying his staff thinks he's mentally unfit and can't do the job. They say he's erratic and impossible to work for. That's funny. We think Fetterman's been making more sense than ever. It's no secret Democrats didn't like when he went to Mar-a-Lago, and apparently he was considering voting for Hegseth. Oh, my God, that was the last straw. Now they're leaking that Fetterman's catatonic, can barely string two sentences together, walks around his office in tight loops, and engages in risky behavior like FaceTimes texts and reads news articles while driving. Well, I think we're all guilty of that. They're also reporting that his staff took away his social media passwords and were engaged in secret conversations with his doctor behind his back. Fetterman denies all of this and says they're quoting disgruntled staffers. Kind of sounds like they're trying to 25th Amendment him. The only Democrat who speaks his mind. The only one with a shred of independence. What does it say about the Democratic Party that they can't tolerate a single senator not towing the party line?
Welcome to the special Friday night edition of Hannity. 100 days of political shock and awe, driving the left crazy. Now, amid a flurry of activity on every front, Donald Trump's second term has been filled with wins from day one, all while the president's political rivals, they are looking clueless, very angry, unhinged, and quite defeated. Now, just today, after weeks of doom and gloom about the economy from the legacy media mob, job growth shattered all expectations. Now, this is the second month in a row that the jobs report outpaced economic forecasts. Keep in mind, these are all private sector gains. The size of government has been shrinking under Trump, yet the labor participation rate is up, wages are up, costs are down. Gas and energy prices are at their lowest point in years, and now, according to Gallup, fewer Americans are worried about inflation. The doom, the gloom predictions surrounding Donald Trump's trade negotiations, they were all bogus. We'll show you that in polls in just a moment. But just this week, even China quietly eliminated tariffs on certain American products. Oh, wow. He challenged China, and hopefully they'll come to a deal as well. And new tonight, President Xi is open to direct talks with Donald Trump and the White House to lower tariffs across the board. Once again, the end of days hysteria on the left, totally unwarranted. And as an added bonus, by the way, tonight there is another big win for Trump that will drive Democrats crazy. That makes me happy. Late last night, the president signed an executive order to strip all federal funding from NPR and PBS. Of course, these far-left outlets, they can continue to function just without your money. President Trump is also now threatening to remove the tax-exempt status from Harvard for failing to comply with basic civil rights amid rampant racial and religious discrimination on campus. This brings us to another bogus smear campaign from the left. According to Democrats, there is deep regret among Trump voters, but for some reason, the state-run legacy media mob just can't seem to find anyone in real life who actually regrets their vote. Look for yourself.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump again, yes or no?
Yes, I would. Now, in the future, I am not a diehard Democrat or diehard Republican. If there were a Democratic candidate who was more aligned for me, then I would vote Democrat.
If you go back in time, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
Yes.
I think I might know the answer on this thing.
She said yes. It's immediately yes. No, I'm sorry.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
1,000% absolutely yes.
Even fake news CNN this week said, yeah, the polling shows Donald Trump would win easily again. Anyway, Americans do not regret voting for Trump. The legacy media mob has been trying to push that narrative for a week. Why? Because he's doing what he promised to do, securing the border, deporting illegal immigrants, bringing down prices, holding government bureaucrats accountable, negotiating better, freer, fairer trade deals, and eliminating waste, fraud, abuse, corruption. This agenda is only controversial among the radical left. That would be the entire Democratic Party. And now, after getting blown out in 2024, Democrats are just doubling down on their extreme positions. Just listen to who Kamala Harris decided to praise during her late-night rant. Take a look.
Leaders across the spectrum, including congressional leaders like Cory Booker, Chris Van Hollen, Chris Murphy, Jasmine Crockett, Maxwell Frost, AOC, and Bernie Sanders. All who, in different ways, have been speaking with moral clarity about this moment.
Okay, what a great list of people to choose from for 2028. I guess that's their short list. Make it right there, mark it down, and we'll see what happens over time. The only problem is they're all radical leftist extremists. Make no mistake, the people Kamala mentioned here, they are the real leaders of the Democratic Party. That part she got right. By the way, did she tell you the story about the elephant? I digress. In fact, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who is now the second most influential Democratic congresswoman behind AOC, reportedly now telling her colleagues she is, quote, made for the moment. And she now wants to lead the all-powerful House Oversight Committee. Keep in mind, this is the same Jasmine Crockett who thinks deporting illegal immigrants is kidnapping. I didn't make that one up. Take a look.
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like that is absolutely insane. So yes, all I got to say is y'all need to get these fools out of here.
Now, this is the very same Congresswoman who still to this day thinks that Joe Biden as sharp as a tack.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. You know, people tried to talk about the mental acuity of Joe Biden, and as someone who was able to interact with him, I never questioned his mental acuity.
Now, the delusion among the leading Democratic Party is almost hard to believe. Why can't they just be honest with the American people? I don't know. That would be refreshing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's rare when so many people agree on one thing. It's Friday, so you know what that means. Let's welcome tonight's guests. Lucky for us, he leaves work before we even get here. Co-host of Fox and Friends First, Todd Pyro. If you call her a nerd, she'll give you the bird. Host of Kennedy Saves the World. Kennedy, we knew it. He's a charming hottie who believes in the Illuminati. Host of the Grift Report, Hotep Jesus. And she's the reason deaf people are happy. Outnumbered co-host Emily Campagno. All right. Before we get to some news stories, let's do this.
Greg's Leftovers.
It's Leftovers, where I read the jokes we didn't use this week, and as always, it's my first time reading them, so if they suck, we'll give Joe Mackey a prostate exam with a nail gun.
Ouch.
This week, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar told a reporter for the Daily Caller to F off. Seriously, Ilhan, do you kiss your brother with that mouth? A company claims they're coming out with leather purses made from 66-million-year-old dinosaur DNA. Finally, a purse that matches my face, says one woman. According to court documents, illegal immigrant Kilmar Abrego Garcia allegedly bragged that he could kill his wife and get away with it. Well, that's awful. Do you have his number? Asked one man. A group of Tren de Aragua gangbangers spelled out SOS at a Texas detention center. President Trump responded by hiring a pilot to write this. And you know he will after he sees this. Disney's Star Wars will, Disney's Star Wars show, Andor, will introduce lesbian characters to the series. In a related story, they're also introducing the world's first vibrating lightsaber. Yesterday at the International Space Station, the 5th all-female spacewalk took place. Their first mission, spend 6 hours looking for some place to have brunch. Oh, I don't mind waiting. I don't mind waiting. I mind waiting. For the first time in decades, the Subway sandwich chain has dwindled to less than 20,000 locations. As a result, you'll never guess who showed up to work today wearing all black. Speaking of Joe Biden, what? I read that wrong. Speaking of The View, Joe Biden will have his first post-presidency chat on The View. Yeah, they're calling it the first ever open casket interview. Monday is Cinco de Mayo, which means right about now, technicians are getting ready to lower J.B. Pritzker into a vat of guacamole. Democratic Congressman Sri Thanadar, who is trying to impeach President Trump, is facing backlash for once abandoning over 50 monkeys and leaving them in cages. However, one did manage to escape and land on his head. Gavin Newsom claims he only noticed Biden's cognitive decline once during the 4 years Biden was in office. And that one time was when Biden endorsed Gavin Newsom. According to a new poll, the city with the most STDs in the nation is Detroit.
Woo!
Don't look at me, said one man. A new HHS report says gender dysphoria should be treated with therapy, not surgery and hormones. The therapy? Well, when men say they think they're women, the shrink says, that's crazy. You have a penis. In California, a panhandler has gone viral for being very good looking. Well, looks like someone is going to have to up his game. A 91-year-old woman broke the running record for the age group of 90 and above. When asked what inspired her to run so fast, she responded, Andrew Cuomo. Geologists in Mississippi have discovered fossils of a prehistoric sea monster called a mosasaur. Here's an artist's rendition of what the creature might have looked like. And finally, this week, New York Governor Kathy Hochul made it easier to commit people with severe mental illnesses. Oh, crap, said 5 crazy hags in unison. All right. So the Dems have this incredible superpower. No matter what the story, they're drawn to the craziest, least popular position. Like moths to a flame, or J.B. Pritzker to the nearest Arby's. Let's start with the Maryland dad. Before you could say Ward Cleaver, they decided he was just a wholesome father of 3. We knew it was bull, but we had to bide our time and listen to the Dems and the media painting this thug as a Gandhian gang threads. Of course, their narrative blew up in their faces like a gift basket from the Unabomber. We soon learned his wife filed a protective order against him in 2021, where she said he punched, scratched, and grabbed her. Then it was revealed she also filed one a year earlier where she said he bragged that he could kill his wife and no one could do anything to him. And if the Dems had their way, he'd be correct. Now there's audio from his wife from 2020, that same court hearing, pleading for protection. Listen.
I opened the door and I was like, help. And then when he heard me, like, he grabbed me from my hair and then he slapped me. And then the neighbor, like, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to react. I have pictures of the evidence, like all the bruises, because it's not, even on Wednesday, he hit me like around like 3 in the morning. He would just wake up and like hit me. And then last Saturday for my daughter's birthday party, before I went to my daughter's birthday party, he slapped me 3 times. And then last week I did call the police. My sister called the police because he hit me in front of my sister.
I wonder how Senator Van Hollen would feel about his brunch date now if that was his daughter. Great work, Dems. You really are the party of women, but only if they're men first. Like the Kansas City dude, Owen McIntyre, arrested for firebombing a Tesla dealership. He was released after his lawyer claimed he needed gender-affirming care. Sadly, that gender-affirming care doesn't mean a kick in the balls. He's still facing charges, but instead of sitting in jail, he's home with mom and dad. Something you or me would never be granted if we did the crime. I gotta hand it to these X-Men. They know how to transition from criminal to victim. So what's next? A musical and about an accused murderer? Funny you should ask. In San Fran, a new musical based on the alleged United Healthcare CEO murder debuts next month. It's being described as irreverent, although the family of Brian Thompson, Luigi's victim, they might disagree. But the left now sees the killer as an accidental folk hero. The show's sold out, so one has to wonder, will their next musical be about Abrego Garcia? I can already imagine the songs.
Kilmar! Oh, what a guy in the blink of an eye. He's a star who won't lead us astray. From El Salvador, always striving for more. He's who we all want to be someday. Don't believe the news, he's got real cool tattoos. No way this dude is in a gang. No way! He's the father that we all wish we had in in his arms, you will never be sad. He's a flawless and fabulous Maryland dad.
Not bad. Not bad. Broadway, here we come. Then there's Michigan Congressman Sri Thanedar, who seeks to impeach Trump again. Some role model. In 2010, a drug lab he owned where animals were used in tests went bankrupt. Over 100 beagles and 55 monkeys were abandoned. The poor animals were rescued eventually by animal activists, no thanks to Thanedar. Well, maybe they should take that guy to the pound and then tell everyone, oh, he went to a farm upstate. So that's 3 winners the Dems have picked: a wife-beater, an arsonist, a heartless scum. But it's no shocker. In the modern liberal mind, there can be no bad guys, because isn't every bad guy a victim too? Of course, if you believe all bad guys are victims, then the real victims, they lose any justice for their suffering. But it's how the Dems treat victims in general. They've never devoted so much energy to an American victim of crime the way they lubricate over the Maryland dad. You might say they care more for the predators than their prey, but in reality, they really only care about themselves. Oh, look how caring I am, they say as they defend a thug, without ever having to feel his punch or his knife behind their gated fence. The good news for Americans, though, there's still one guy out there who gets it.
It helps when you know that borders are not racist, speech is not violence, America is good, terrorists are bad, men can never become women, police are not criminals, and criminals are not victims.
You know, it's amazing that that needs to be said. But I guess we should be grateful there's a Donald Trump to say it. Todd, it always seems that the left chooses the most unpopular person and defends them. Does it bother you, being unpopular,
yes,
that you were never chosen?
I mean, my time is coming. Have you been on this show with me?
Yes.
I have to stand up and beg the audience to applaud.
Yes.
Trust me, it's coming. Get ready. But at first, I originally thought about this as like, this is just the antithesis of Trump's love of that central casting motif, whereas Trump has this image of what you are supposed to look like and what you're supposed to do, and the left is rebelling against that, picking the exact antithesis of it. But I think it goes a lot deeper, and I think your monologue really laid it out. So the answer is why? Why is what you stated forth in your monologue happening? It all comes down to education. Because when I was growing up, we had heroes and we had bad guys, and that was it. It was a pretty clear, demarcated line. But now, to your point, when you're in these classes and you're getting indoctrinated in woke culture in preschool, that line is blurred. And so somebody like a Luigi Mangione, a Kilmar Abrego Garcia, they become the hero and the victim becomes the anti-hero. And it's sad that we're in this world, but we are. Again, don't tell anybody this. If you could keep this between us, this is not part of my joke, much like everything I say. In middle school, I once advocated for everybody that committed a crime to get the death penalty. Now, arguably, we have, that was my teacher. Arguably a little extreme.
Yes.
But it just shows that while that may not be the solution, what we have right now can't be reality either. Stop laughing. Me killing people who, like, jaywalk, Emily Campagna.
That's right.
My guess is you had a very lonely childhood.
I thought about these thoughts in the solitude of my bed.
Yes, exactly. 12, 13 years of therapy, and look how you are now.
Still lonely.
Yes. So, Kennedy, why do you think, I mean, you can look at the entertainment industry, you can look, like, you know, the 60s gave us Bonnie and Clyde movie. That was like where we started going into, like, the romancing the bad guy.
Yeah.
Where do you see it begins?
And then you have things like natural born killers. And, you know, and there are always things that kind of fan outrage. And artists do it, so people talk about their work, and so we have these conversations, but we don't have any conversations anymore. We're only yelling. And the only thing that the left has to offer is violence and the glorification of violence. And it's not just this musical, which is silly and horrible. You also have the governor of Illinois saying that Republicans shouldn't know peace.
Yeah.
And, you know, the people should take to the streets. And he's never called for riots and mobilization, but he is now, knowing the environment that we're in, and that naturally leads to violence.
Yeah.
So when you're all out of ideas and you go to violence, you have completely lost your case. And they know that they have lost the war because we were told that Trump's ideas were too extreme. And if we only had the opposite of that, that the United States would come back together, divisions would be healed, and we'd be on a much better path. We had that for 4 years. And all people had to do was answer that age-old political question, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And the answer was absolutely not. So, you know, whatever moderation they promised, it was so much more extreme. And there are still Democrats who are clinging to that because they don't have ideas. They don't want to see people come together. All they can sell is division by class and race and everything else. And it makes the country unlivable. And that's why you've seen people fighting back, because they want their country back.
Hotep. Always a pleasure to see you.
It's always a pleasure, Greg.
Yes.
You ever met a good Democrat? The answer is no. No, you have not. Ain't nobody ever met a good Democrat. Yeah. And one day I was watching this obscure movie called The Lion King. Yeah. And Mufasa was talking to his son. He said, Simba, you see that land, that shadowy land over there, that dark place? Never go there. Simba said, well, why not, Dad? He said, because it's Democrats over there and they're dangerous. That's why.
That was edited out of my version.
But if you wait till the end of the movie, you gotta wait for the credits. Because in the credits, under sound effects, it says cackling hyenas. And Kamala Harris' name is right there doing sound effects. Yes. It's there. I saw it.
That was funny. Emily, do you have an explanation for this?
I don't, because I think it's sort of similar to when you're trying to understand a motive for homicide. Like, the whole point is it is indefensible. It is indefensible to choose these individuals over the victims, over the victims of abject violence. What I don't understand, to add to the conundrum, is how this is the party where words were violence, yes. Right? Where a credible allegation against a now Supreme Court justice of, you know, he drank too much, was all of a sudden the subject of bumper stickers and protests all throughout the country. And yet we didn't have, you know, the audio that we played today. Yeah. Before that, we already had the affidavit. We had the court filings. We had all the motions. We had all the evidence. So how much more is it going to take for someone like Van Hollen to say, you know what, I was wrong?
Right.
And I was wrong from the beginning. And yet he now has simply pivoted to say,
that's a great comparison to the Kavanaugh thing. They had nothing and they demonized him. We have everything and they're lionizing him.
Totally. Yeah. And by the way, my law school thesis was on the juvenile death penalty. So even at the age of an adult, I was right there.
Were you a juvenile that wanted the death penalty, or the death penalty for juveniles?
The death penalty for juveniles.
You and Todd should team up and run North Korea.
We should have our own Fox Nation show, to Kennedy's point, and call it Natural Born Killers. There we go.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.